the removal of the 15-month wait-out period.
If you have been following the property news and all, Minister Chi Hong Ta actually let out the removal of the 15-month wait-out period. One of the biggest buzz of the year for property news, I would say.
It's been coming for the past 1 year. So recently I saw my Facebook memories. It was announced last year that MND announced that the removal of the 15-month could happen before 2027. So here we are, implemented 2022, so about 4 years, coming to be 4 years.
September 2022 to be exact. Yeah, so coming to be 4 years. And it's removed with immediate effect, right?
Yep.
So what this means for private homeowners, is it a good news?
For private homeowners, I think it's a very welcome news. At least it provides private homeowners the flexibility of right-sizing to a HDB.
As with all new policies, or whether it's a cooling measures or news article that comes out, right? Often it affects a group of people and another group of people that will actually benefit from it. So we will actually break down into this video as to what has happened and why was this even implemented in the first place? Why was it removed? If you are a buyer or seller in today's market, how is it going to affect you? And our take on this.
Yep.
So back in September 2022, this was when the first cooling measure in terms of private property homeowners who sold off their homes and they would like to come back to the HDB market, they will actually have to wait for 15 months before entering and being able to apply for a HFE letter to see their eligibility to purchase a HDB home.
So why did this measure have to come about? Like why did they have to implement this? So at around 2022, I believe everybody still will be able to recall we were just coming out from the COVID period. I think that was the period where there was
property market actually surged upwards, right?
Yeah, so there was a severe undersupply because obviously during COVID, there wasn't any construction going on. They totally stopped building. So the supply just couldn't match up with the demand.
Basically, we have actually seen quite a flat in terms of the price trend for HDB resale homes. But if you were to pay a notice of how in 2021, that is when we noticed an upward trend of prices in the resale HDB market. So is this normal?
The supply just couldn't catch up with the demand. So we saw the price movements actually was quite a steep climb.
The government is trying their best to curb as much of a speculation as much as possible to delay them from coming in. If they do want to come in, they have to wait a 15-month period, whether they can sell their property first, find a place to rent or stay with their family members before coming back into the resale market.
So it was actually to try to delay a certain segment of the demand coming from the private property. So back then, property was being sold without viewings, was sold via Zoom, was sold via video calls. So back then, the demand really was quite crazy, which also explains the spike in price.
Yes, so this was a backstory to give you some context of why government decided to implement this 15-month wait-out period back then. Pay a closer look as to how the policy works back then. There is actually this fine print or the fine clause over here that allows the senior Singaporeans of 55 years old and above for them to actually comfortably right-size to HDB without having this 15-month wait-out period. I want to bring your attention here because a lot of people might have missed out that these seniors are actually able to come back to smaller size HDB unit, which is either 4-room or even smaller HDB units. You will notice that they are basically unable to go into 5-room or larger flats.
We believe that this was partly because of what we have always been mentioning about and what we have always shared with our clients, that the supply of 5-room generally has always been on the lower side compared to your 4 rooms or 3 rooms.
Yes. So if you go back to one of our videos, we previously did mention that HDB, they are actually building very little 5-room flats as opposed to the majority out in the market, which is mostly the 4-room HDB flats. So 4-room, if you look into the year of 2024, there were 9,000 over units of 4-room BTOs out there. Whereas if you were to compare to the 5-room supply, there were only 3,000 units available.
So about 3 times the number of 4 rooms compared to 5.
All the yellow color over here are all the 5-room flats, and you will see a larger portion of the greens, which are the 4-room flats. So these are per year the number of volume that HDB built for
the BTOs.
Yep.
So another reason we believe would also be the rising $1 million flats. So generally, I would believe that the 5-room flats or the EAE would generally be the ones that command the $1 million. I mean, easier to compare to the 4-room because of its size also. So if you can see over here, what happened in 2022.
The implementation of the 15-month wait-out period happens in 2022. So this chart over here shows the total number of $1 million flats reaching per year that was being transacted. In 2022 itself, there were 369 units of $1 million flats.
So even with the implementation, right, we still saw an increase of $1 million flats.
Yeah. Even in the year of 2025, which was just last year, 1,005 units of $1 million flats has been transacted despite that this cooling measure of the 15-month wait-out period was being in place.
And as of today, so far, the latest figures we have already crossed $1,000 million flats.
Yeah.
As of July 2026.
What So the whole idea why government has been implementing this is because of how they do see how private owners, upon selling their private unit, they will have a large sum of money on hand and they could easily come back to premium flats, or basically flats that are of higher demand in terms of location, in terms of the sizing. They would jack up the prices because they are able to afford the high cash over valuation, which is not something that the government was aiming for, because this is public housing after all. They cannot afford for it to go even steeper, which is why this implementation was being in place.
So the HDB actually managed to achieve their objectives with the implementation of the restrictions of this 50-month without period. So as we can see here, what happened in 2003. So we can see from here, the blue columns will be the 4-room, 5-room, and then the EAEM. Compare here, over here, between 2022 to 2023, this period here was after they implemented the 50-month without. We can see here that 4-room actually maintained their figures, whereas for 5-room, if you notice here, the number 6,007 to 5,008, there was a 1,000 drop in transactions. And similarly for the EAEM, 1,008 dropped 300 to 1,005. So we believe that the implementation of this 15-month wait out actually did achieve its objectives. It did take away a certain demand of the resale market.
And partly because seniors over 55 years old, they are no longer able to purchase 5-room or any EA or EM. They are only allowed to purchase 4-room or smaller, which is why we see that the drop comes in mostly from 5-room flats as well as EA, EM, which generally shows that this cooling measure is working. It basically shows us that private owners who want to right size back into HDB, they are looking at bigger flats units of 5-room or larger. So with this policy change, how it will flows is, I think, definitely for private homeowners who has been waiting to get out of their private homes and coming back into the resale HDB market, it will be a lot easier. So we don't know of private homeowners who has been waiting for this to be removed, to be lifted off ever since last year when Minister Chee Hong Tat did put out a leading indicator for us at saying this wait up period will potentially be removed by 2027, and it did come true, right? So right now, private homeowners are able to exit easier.
So we should be seeing a segment who will be more willing to sell their private now that they don't have to actually wait out the 15 months.
So definitely it will then, with this exit of right sizing, there will be more HDB buyers out there. I think we will see more HDB buyers finally, because it has been a sluggish for about a few quarters now. For HDB market, it has been slow moving. So right now I will see a group of HDB buyers coming back into this market. And naturally, if there is more HDB buyers, it generally also means that there will be more private property owners who are looking to sell their private landed or private condo as well. So we will be expecting more of such private listings out in the portals. And how this effect could eventually spill into will be how it affects the rental market as well. Because let's not forget that there will still be a group of private home owners who did sold their flats and are actually waiting for this 15-month ruling to be removed. They have actually been renting out after selling their place as well before coming back into the HDB market. So how will this affect the rental market? We will be touching on as well. Who will this benefit? So how we see things is, right, we should concentrate what will actually move first in the HDB resale market, because chances are I don't think this removal of cooling measure will outlive the whole of the HDB resale market.
Not instantly, especially.
So which is the segment that benefit first from this removal?
So we feel that the owners that will actually benefit first would be the well-connected 5-room flats, especially if they're near MRT in prime location. Larger unit types, recently MOP estates, high floor with unblocked views, basically units with very strong attributes, good attributes.
EAs and EMs as well, because all these are large floor plates, and I think it's something that what private homeowners, when they want to right size, they still appreciate such spaces.
So for private owners, after they sell, they will probably have comfortable funds to go into the HDB market, and they will probably be very specific with what they want, strong and good attributes and big HDB flats.
Such strong attributes will naturally move first. Also, because I have some good profits already, I do not require any loan, and this could also possibly be their forever home already, perhaps their last home for seniors who are really looking at retirement and looking back into HDB resale. So this is when they are willing to spend a bit more to buy into something that is well attributed with convenience
and a long-term stay.
So these are generally the units that will move first, in our opinion.
After the bigger flats with the stronger attributes move, eventually the market will also benefit from the spillover. So maybe it could be the case that prices of the good attributes of 5-room EAEF start to go higher, maybe the private owners that want to right size don't want to be spending that kind of money. This spillover would actually go to the 5-room flats in a more normal kind of locations.
I mean, not every private owner will want to pay high COV. There might be some who did not profit a lot from the sale of their property or private property, so they would want to still keep a good portion of their money for retirement as well. So this is when there might be chances of them looking at flats that is outside of central area but still hold strong attributes. What are strong attributes? We are looking at units that are well renovated or has got younger lease but doesn't command such high price like the central area, for example. Because it will still have some spillover effect to even the smaller flat types, because chances are if they are unable to find 5-room flats in the central area, which is very rare these days already, well centralized 5-room flats is very rare. If not, they are of older lease. If they are unable to afford, for example, because price are sensitive to begin with, they will then perhaps go into something smaller like a 4-room flat. So there will be some spillover effect, but this is when it will only happen to such broader resale market after the stronger attributes one starts moving first. So demand will go there, but not as fast.
So will the market pick up instantly? We don't think so. Even with these measures being removed, the private owners will still need time to sell off their current place.
So transaction may not move up so instantly, but what we do see is it will move, but not at a sudden surge. It will be a gradual one. So what should sellers of private condos do if this group of buyers are the one that has been waiting to come back into the HDB resale?
It's now a temporary window that we could actually find good bargains or good buys in the market right now, because we all know that HDB in recent quarters have been quite flat. There will be certain segments of the HDB market that they will be pricing it to the last transaction.
Based on maybe the past 1 month transaction. So HDB sellers have not yet adjusted their expectation with this news upcoming of the removal. Which is why we do feel that there is this temporary window of opportunity that we can actually ride on, because how we see things is transaction happens eventually that might cause price movements that goes higher with this removal of the cooling measure. So right now, because it's only just removed, if private owners who have been looking to come back into the HDB market, this will be the best opportunity if you are still looking to buy something of a price that has not been adjusted with this cooling measure. Because price movements and transactions has not really kicked in just yet, so you are still able to get a good price. And the advice that we can give to these private condos sellers is that if they are coming back to HDB, perhaps it's good that if you focus on units that really have attributes that can withstand the test of time, because you want something that holds its value. So explore now before the market moves and the prices shift. So that is our take for homeowners that are looking to come back into the resale market.
Then what should sellers of 5-room HDBs do?
So if we are serving 5-room HDB flats owners, this is what we will be advising them.
Whether or not there are any increase in inquiries for viewings, whether or not the viewers are coming from private properties. I think this is something that we should find out as well. Are the neighbors, are they actually adjusting their prices already? And whether or not offers are starting to come more quickly.
Our take is do not rush. So just because you have an offer, you have the rights to still hold on to it and consider whether if this is the best possible price that you can let go at. Because after all, you are holding on to a very good 5-room HDB that potentially might go higher
with this removal of the 50-month without.
If your unit has got good and strong attributes, so now is the best time for you to have the upper hand. So that's our advice. For private condo prices for, this is one of the questions that we do get quite a fair bit from our friends and clients. They are quite concerned that with this piece of cooling measure being lifted off, how will it affect the private segment, right?
Actually, it's quite surprising to know that there are many private owners, they are really concerned that whether or not private prices will fall. Our belief is that there will be an increase in the number of supply, because there are private owners who are really waiting for this to be lifted off and they just want to right size back to a HDB. So the number of listings would increase. This should mean that the number of transactions would also increase. But we believe that the prices will not necessarily fall. Can I say that most of us will only be able to own that one property? And sometimes even husband and wife, we just own one. So holding on to that one property, can we say that if there is no real stress reason for us to sell, if I don't hit my price, I wouldn't let go of them. I mean, even if I were to right size to a HDB, I still want to sell at a decent price before I go move back to a HDB.
So that's the reason why we believe as long as there are transactions that are moving, when transactions move, naturally prices will also hold or even go higher. We do not believe that the private condo prices will fall or fall significantly. At the most, it will just be pretty moderate, and eventually this cooling measure will create an uplift in overall property prices.
I mean, this piece of news would really be a market driver. I mean, so for private property owners, if they will want to go back to the HDBs, they will be buying HDBs. So then the HDB owners, who are the upgraders maybe, will go back to the private segment. So this generally will just create a market driver.
So let's not forget that there is still this transaction chain that will be happening. So with this removal of cooling measure, it also means that there will be HDB upgraders over here that have finally offloaded their HDB homes, and with a healthy cash proceeds, they will then be able to upgrade, right? So in a way, there will still be two-way transactions that is happening as well. There will still be HDB upgraders over here that have been waiting to get out of HDB market, but because of the previous quarters that have been very slow, inquiries are low and all, they are unable to get out. But with this piece of a cooling measure now removed, can I then say that there is a chance that these HDB owners, particularly the newly MOP estates, they are then able to have a good lump sum of cash proceeds? Isn't that possible for them to then upgrade, right? So I don't think the prices is going to fall. I think, in fact, this is actually good news in the whole of property market. It will have a gradual increment. We do not expect any price hike, but there will be just when transactions happen, that is when there is a possible chance for it to actually move upwards.
But again, it will take time.
Yes. So what does this mean for HDB upgraders then?
So like we mentioned earlier, we will possibly see an increase in supply, especially from the private owners who have been waiting for these measures to be lifted. With an increase in supply, it potentially also gives the upgraders more negotiating power. And then potentially, with the demand increase for HDB flats, it should be easier to sell off the HDB. However, competition could actually build up later.
Private homeowners with transactions happening, they will also be able to see that prices are building up. So that is when we do feel that for HDB upgraders, there is also this window of opportunity, which is temporary and it's just on the initial period, because there are a lot of resale condo supply that is out there upon this removal of cooling measure. When there is more supply out there, naturally for buying side, you get a better positioning in terms of negotiating. So if you are looking to negotiate for something that is not overpriced and not unreasonable, we would think that this is actually a good chance to go into, because once transaction starts to happen and one small resale condo is being snapped up by HDB upgraders, then of course prices build up naturally. So then condo seller, their expectation will also flow as well. If you have been considering whether you should or should not be selling your current home to upgrade, this might be a good chance, or this might be a good time for you to explore, because we do see this short window of opportunity for people to go into buying into something that is with a wider options and still at a fair price before transactions happens and prices move.
So far we have touched on largely positive aspects, but when we come to the rental market, we feel that this segment will probably be the one that gets a little bit impacted.
Yes.
Because previously with this implementation, those who were genuinely just want to right size, they would have sold and they would have to wait out the 15 months. And throughout this period of 15 months, if they do not have an alternative place to stay, they would need to fall back to the rental market, right?
And then suddenly this news just overnight is being removed. So high chance is the tenants might even want to break lease and go back into the HDB market right away, because who wants to pay additional months of lease for rental, right? So there is a chance that people might also break lease or terminate their lease if they have already been renting out currently. But of course, this is just that one group of tenants. Largely in Singapore, our rental market are not, say, driven by this 15-month wait-out period private owners. If we look into data, rental homes are often being rented by employees who are foreigners, basically, who are coming here to Singapore to work. And also there will be still this group of people who actually purchase new launches and are still waiting for their houses to be built, right? They are to be completed. So these are the group of families who are actually renting.
The main bulk of them lah.
Yeah, so yes, rental market may soften with this piece of news, but we do not see like it will totally drop, because that's not bulk of the tenants that is coming from.
Then what will happen to the HDB resale market?
But the first thing we get from HDB homeowners, or even private homeowners, they are all saying that HDB market shall go up already.
There are a lot of people that are actually saying that the removal of this 15 months without is happened a bit too fast. So they are concerned that prices will again spike. But what we want to share is the government probably already also knows, the data they know that with the increase in supply over the past few years, there's enough supply to actually absorb this demand that will be upcoming from the private segment.
Yeah, but what kind of supply are we looking at?
Mainly would be the rising MOP supply.
Yep.
So as we can see here, last year, we only had 8,000 MOP flats.
Yes.
This year is an increase to 13,005. And then we can see over the next 2 years, there's basically every year there's an increase in the MOP flats. So with this increase in MOP flats, it will also provide more supply into the market, because it has been proven that MOP estates, typically there will be a portion of owners that will be selling and upgrading.
So all these MOP flats were actually built after COVID, when the pandemic has actually stopped and when construction begins, right? So all these flats are now coming back into the market. So year on year is increasing. The reason is mainly because back then there was a delay in terms of building, but now that the flats have already built up and has already reached its 5-year MOP, they are coming back into the market, which is why this lifting off of the cooling measure is kind of aligned with what the vision that the government has in place, whereby it's now moderating already, no longer a steep curve up. So what we do see is because of such demands that is in the market, right? Chances are we don't see how HDB prices is going to price surge because of this. Yes, there might be some price surge. There might also be some more $1 million flats hitting the market or hitting an all-time high, which is generally
the trend the past few years.
Yeah, which is quite predictable because as what we say, private homeowners that comes out from their private homes, they are looking at space, they are looking at lifestyles, and they value such attributes that how they see that in the next few years of their life they will be at. This could potentially be their forever home. We also have BTO supply, so let's not forget that there is still this segment whereby the HDB has been pumping up on. We are looking at 55,000 more new flats upcoming. So will the whole removal of this cooling measure really
cause a
surge of private owners wanting to sell their flats and coming back into resale market? Yes, there is a group of them that will, but then you also need to hit the right price in order for them to want to exit.
Yeah, so will it cause a surge? We believe no, it will not.
Yeah.
So to summarize, we believe that this lifting of the 15 months wait-out period is generally a welcome news, especially to private property owners who have been wanting to shift back to HDBs.
Yes.
It may concern a certain segment whether or not it is being lifted off too fast, whether HDB prices will suddenly surge, whether private property prices will drop because of the increase in supply in private property. So generally, we feel that this measure would just be a market driver moving forward. Like we said, it's a welcome piece of news. Private property owners potentially are more willing to sell now if they are looking to move back to HDB. This would then positively impact HDB sellers.
Yes.
And when HDB sellers actually get their flats sold, they may be upgrading, and then it again provides some benefits towards the private owners. So it's just a market driver that would positively impact the whole property market moving forward. It will never be the objective of, the government or the authorities to actually cause a market crash. So as long as all the property segments are increasing in price slowly, gradually, we feel that.
Do you think that this cooling measure will be implemented back again?
It's really hard to say. Previously, when we saw the seller stamp duty, they decreased it from 4 years to 3 years.
Yes.
And then after that, they implemented it back and increased it back to 4 years.
Yes.
So there's no sure way of saying that this is not coming back again. Of course, I'm sure the authorities will be monitoring the price, how after this has been lifted off, how it impacts the market moving forward.
So that's our take for how we see this 15-month wait-out period, upon removal, how it's going to actually affect the whole of the property market here in Singapore. So if you have been sitting on and wondering how this policy actually affects you, how it can help you or benefit you, or will it even benefit you, please feel free to reach out to us. Here's our social media channel as well. Please like and subscribe. If not, we will see you in our next video.